Welcome to the 133rd Airlift Wing.
The best airmen in the business drive onto the St. Paul, Minnesota Air National Guard Base for duty with the best airlift wing in the world.
Home for the holidays. It has been many years since the 133rd Airlift Wing enjoyed a winter without a major deployment overseas. As we reflect on 2012, we take the opportunity to say thank you to families, friends, and the airmen of the Minnesota Air National Guard who serve with honor.
Under the command of Colonel Greg Haase, the ANG's premier airlift wing stands ready to respond to domestic operations and overseas contingencies. Since most of us are not deployed over the holidays in late 2012, let's take a tour of the base and talk with the airmen while we highlight important events from the past 12 months.
As 2012 began and many of us were preparing for Minnesota winter operations, the Civil Engineer Squadron had a large group of firefighters deployed to Southwest Asia, supporting Operation New Dawn. So we begin our tour at the fire barn and look at the accomplishments of the airmen there.
Sergeant Jeremiah Wickenhauser was one of about 100 Minnesota airmen overseas, many of them firefighters. Theirs was a blended group, including many from Duluth's 148th Fighter Wing.
I think our team and our guys did a fantastic job. We always stayed busy. We did an excellent amount of training, and then we also were able to provide a lot of crash fire rescue coverage as well as structural fire coverage. We had a great time. It was one of my best deployments.
This year was a major milestone in number of hours and locations we served. Over 540 airmen deployed to almost a dozen countries. That's nearly half our organization. It takes almost a small village of men and women to fly and support our 8 C-130H-3 Hercules aircraft.
Not long after the first of the year, a large group of airmen and C-130s deployed to support Operation Enduring Freedom. This required aviators, support, and maintenance airmen in 2 locations over several months. Sergeant Alex Hughes, a propulsion specialist with the engine shop, deployed for 120 days.
As a team, we kept the airplanes flying. We had an outstanding overall mission capable rate throughout both stages of the deployment. So overall, it was a very positive experience.
Later in the tour, we'll come back to the operations group and take a look at their accomplishments during the deployment. In the Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area, including the MSP airport, we hosted many distinguished visitors who came on behalf of airmen and families.
First Lady Michelle Obama visited the Minnesota National Guard for conversations regarding her joining forces initiatives.
The wing focused on inspections that culminated in April. Preparations began well in advance for the AMC Consolidated Unit Inspection that resulted in top grades for the 133rd Airlift Wing.
The CUI included a compliance inspection, a medical group health services inspection, an aeromedical evacuation squadron HSI, and an occupational safety and health compliance assessment and management program inspection.
Heck of a job.
The final tally? The major graded areas earned 7 excellent and 4 satisfactory grades, with no major graded areas below the line. While most of the wing got inspected, the 208th Weather Flight conducted field training at a state park off base in April. It was a joint exercise with Marines, helping them improve combat readiness.
We could end up, we had guys with the 100 and gals with the 101st, first into Baghdad. They're running with the Humvees on the front lines. And so that's kind of our way to get these guys another look at the other side of the Air Forces. This is what we kind of do.
We highlighted the Air Expeditionary Force with maintenance earlier. The entire aviation package included airmen from units like logistics, medical, and more. The Adjutant General of the Minnesota National Guard, Major General Rick Nash, came out to wish us well. From March through May, our planes and people flew out of Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. In about a 4-month stretch, the airmen and Hercs flew more than 1,700 combat sorties. They hauled an estimated 22,000 passengers and over 7,000 tons of critical cargo using airdrop and air-land capabilities. For Flight Engineer Sergeant Travis Green, it was his first deployment into combat.
While deployed, it was great being able to actually fly real missions and do things that were worthwhile, not just training. It was great to fly with an actual crew, hard crew, and do your job.
Swap outs in the late spring saw fresh crews launching to the new location while others returned home. Many airmen remained in Southwest Asia as they moved to an undisclosed airbase in the Persian Gulf region.
During the swap out, the wing hosted embedded media members from the Minneapolis Star Tribune, which resulted in extended coverage and stories. Much of the stories revolved around families. And speaking of families, the July return of the AEF delighted loved ones.
Both before and after the deployments, airmen and families attended Yellow Ribbon Reintegration Program events. These help smooth the transitions into and off active duty for everyone.
Summer means baseball, and mixed with our deployment returns, the combination was wonderful for many. Master Sergeant Rob Resch, an aeromedical airman, surprised his daughters at a Twins game in May.
At another Twins game, we participated in a Women's Military Appreciation Day on Target Field. The citizens of Minnesota gave special recognition to women who served throughout the years. Our airmen were involved in the color guard, flag detail, and singing of the national anthem.
Summer saw other activities such as Starbase classes, which included a graduation attended by the Minnesota National Guard Commander-in-Chief, Governor Mark Dayton.
Youth camp at Camp Ripley is always a favorite of airmen and families. We took the opportunity during a training mission to park a C-130 on the ramp so campers could walk through the aircraft.
Many of our wing members joined in athletic activities such as the base soccer team known as a Hercules, obstacle courses like the Tough Mudder, and we were involved in the Twin Cities River Rats water ski team. These provide opportunities for fitness, camaraderie, and great community relations.
Let's get back on base and head to the alert hangar. Medical group folks, like many of us, pack up our units and head to other locations for training.
According to the Medical Operations Officer for Minnesota SURF-P, Captain Kyle Williamson of the 133rd Medical Group, the SURF-P specializes in responding within 6 hours to treat trauma and critical patients in austere environments.
They're fantastic. They're top-notch. Our team is nationally recognized as one of the best medical teams out there.
Their training and evaluations prove it, like during the Patriot Guard exercise at Volk Field, Wisconsin in July. Aeromeds and communications airmen were supporting that exercise as well.
Earlier in the year, the 210th Engineering Installation Squadron sent over 30 airmen to multiple locations in Southwest Asia. Before launching, they assembled with families under the eyes of the Patriot Guard, who showed up time and time again for departures and returns all year. While deployed, they supported numerous initiatives around Southwest Asia, like constructing a tower in Afghanistan using a helicopter.
I really believe in the mission that we do. It's a great mission. You can't do anything nowadays without communications, whether it's internet, telephone, radio systems to communicate with airplanes.
In late summer, Wingman Day brought opportunities for each of us to reflect on the 4 pillars of well-being. We heard from a chaplain and a comedian who reminded us to take care of each other. The First Sergeant of the Airlift Squadron and Wing Headquarters, Sergeant Carrie Isaacson, says we should always be aware of what's happening with our coworkers.
I think it causes us to take pause and look at what we do as airmen and actually focus on the human aspect and promote morale and welfare within each other.
Our wing always has the philosophy that taking care of our airmen means taking care of our families. Family Day brings airmen and loved ones together with food, fun, and other activities.
Even though we took a few hours for family fun, the next day, the aircrew members and security forces teamed up for a new approach to survival training. Their goal was to make the scenarios as realistic as possible. From the ambush to the hijack, these airmen used their survival, evasion, resistance, and escape training to the fullest.
It puts it in perspective, I guess, what can really happen. I guess, like, you know, there's such a break. A lot of people are older and don't, you know, going through it again makes it more realistic. Like, oh yeah, this is what can really happen.
As mentioned earlier, we saw many distinguished visitors in 2012. They included the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, who was greeted upon his arrival at the Air Guard base by Governor Dayton, General Nash, and Colonel Hazy. The Air Mobility Commander, General Raymond Johns, reviewed many of our outstanding airmen and the wing's state-of-the-art facilities.
Squadron and flight leadership changes late this year brought opportunities for new growth and inspiration. Always on the cutting edge, we pioneered a new way to serve as geographically separated persons. airmen who belong to one State Guard unit but attend drill in another. Minnesota Cyber Warriors are paving the way into the new world of technology, providing excellence and innovation.
Technology enabled a few of our deployed members to say hello during professional sporting events, while others were able to attend them in person. The Minnesota Timberwolves and the Minnesota Vikings celebrated the service of members of the Wing and other military organizations.
During the employer support of the Guard and Reserve event in the fall, many airmen brought their civilian bosses to the base. The Wing always enjoys great support from civilian employers, and we are happy to show our appreciation. A breakfast briefing and even a C-130 flight gave them a picture of what we do while serving Minnesota and America in uniform.
Whether we serve overseas or in domestic contingencies, like emergency missions to provide critical supplies to those affected by Superstorm Sandy in November, families, employers, and other citizens recognize your service.
This year, very few Wing members are deployed overseas for the winter holidays. It is a significant moment. We have been going almost non-stop for more than 11 years, with a distinguished history of service since 1921, providing critical support to the state and nation. 2012 stands as a momentous year.
Citizens serving America,
Airmen defending freedom.